You have lived this day before, not in the sense of déjà vu, but in the architecture of it. The same emotional loops, the same internal conversations, the same quiet certainty that something essential about your life remains just out of reach, like a word on the tip of your tongue that never arrives. In 1945, an Egyptian farmer struck a jar buried in the sand near the town of Nag Hammadi. Inside were texts that had been hidden for nearly 17 centuries. Among them was a collection of 114 sayings, each one functioning not as religious instruction, but as a psychological key. Not to open doors in the external world, but to unlock something that had been sealed inside the structure of ordinary awareness itself. These texts were not destroyed by accident. They were removed because they described a specific kind of seeing, a way of recognizing that the world you move through each day operates by patterns you did not choose, running on assumptions you never agreed to, generating experiences that feel mandatory but are actually constructed. The text called this constructed reality the simulation, not in the technological sense, but in the psychological one, a system of automatic thinking, unconscious repetition, and inherited identity that runs so smoothly you mistake it for nature itself. The 114 sayings were not meant to be believed, they were meant to be used, each one a discrete interruption in the program of normal consciousness. But here is what the texts understood that modern spirituality has forgotten. You cannot break the simulation by thinking your way out of it, because the simulation is not made of matter. The simulation is made of agreement. You agreed to it before you could speak. You inherited its basic operating system through language, culture, and the simple fact of being raised inside a world that was already running when you arrived. The texts describe this as the Kanoma, the realm of deficiency. Not a place, but a mode of experience characterized by constant lack, perpetual becoming, and the deep suspicion that you are somehow incomplete. Notice how this feels in your own life. The sense that you will be ready, whole or real once you achieve the next thing, that your current state is preparatory, that the life you are supposed to be living exists just beyond this moment, in a future that never stabilizes into now. This is not personal failure, it is structural design. The first saying in the Gospel of Thomas reads, "Whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death." Modern readers assume this is about immortality. It is not. It is about recognition. The death it speaks of is the death you are already experiencing. The death of living as a replica of yourself, animated by borrowed desires, moving through a script you did not write. The 114 sayings do not offer escape. They offer something more dangerous, the capacity to see the script while you are still inside it, to recognize the pattern while it is running, to notice that what you call your thoughts are often not yours at all, but installations, preloaded responses to predetermined situations. The texts were hidden because this kind of seeing destabilizes the structure, and the structure needs you to remain stable. The ancient Gnostic writers had a specific term for the force that keeps the simulation running. Archons, not demons, not external entities. Archetypal patterns of consciousness that govern from within the psyche itself. They are the voices in your mind that sound like you, but serve interests that are not yours. The voice that says you are not enough. The voice that insists on comparison. The voice that transforms every moment of stillness into a problem that needs solving. These are not personal neuroses. They are systemic installations, and the system requires them to function. The simulation does not run on force. It runs on distraction, on the continuous displacement of attention away from the present and into projected futures or recycled pasts. This is why you can spend an entire day busy and arrive at night with no memory of having actually lived it. The Archons do not need to control you. They only need to keep you slightly removed from the moment you are in. Saying 70 from the Gospel of Thomas, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not have will destroy you." This is not metaphor. It is mechanical description. There is something inside you that precedes all the voices, all the inherited scripts, all the automatic patterns. The texts call it the spark, not in a mystical sense, but in a simple one. The capacity for direct experience unmediated by commentary. The ability to be here without the overlay of interpretation. But bringing it forth is not a decision. It is a practice of noticing, and noticing begins with one specific realization. You are not the one who is thinking. Sit with that for a moment, not as a concept but as a direct experiment. Notice the thoughts appearing in your awareness right now. Did you choose them? Did you author them? Or did they simply arise, already formed, already speaking in a voice that sounds like yours but operates on its own timing, following its own associations? The texts describe this as the primary illusion, the belief that the voice in your head is you, that the stream of commentary narrating your experience is identical to consciousness itself. It is not. Consciousness is what notices the commentary, and that distinction is the first key. The Gnostics called the false self the ego, but not in the Freudian sense. They meant something closer to a role you were assigned at birth and have been performing ever since. A character in a story you did not write, speaking lines that were prepared before you arrived, moving through conflicts that were designed to generate specific emotional states required by the larger pattern. Saying 3, the kingdom is inside you and outside you. When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, you live in poverty, and you are that poverty. The poverty is not material. It is the poverty of living as a replica, of experiencing life as a second-hand report rather than a direct encounter, of being so thoroughly identified with the commentary that the actual moment is lost beneath the narration. The 114 sayings do not fix this, they interrupt it, each one designed to create a small gap in the program. But the program has defenses. The moment you begin to see the pattern begins to see you. This is not paranoia, it is observation. Notice what happens when you touch something true about your own conditioning. When you recognize, even for a moment, that a belief you have carried for decades is not actually yours. The mind does not celebrate this clarity. It immediately produces doubt, distraction, or a sudden urgent task that requires your complete attention elsewhere. The texts describe this as the counterfeit spirit, not an external entity, but an internal mechanism that generates false versions of insight to prevent real ones. It works by substitution. Every time you approach genuine recognition, it offers you a conceptual replacement, a new belief system, a better story, a spiritual identity that feels like awakening but is actually just a more sophisticated form of sleep. This is why most spiritual seeking becomes part of the simulation rather than an exit from it. You trade one script for another, one set of automatic thoughts for a different set, one identity for an upgraded version. The structure remains intact, only the content changes. Saying 22 contains the instruction, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, then you will enter the kingdom. This is not mystical poetry. It is technical instruction for collapsing the false divisions the simulation runs on, the division between observer and observed, between self and experience, between the one who seeks and what is sought. These divisions are not natural, they are installed, and they create the permanent gap that generates the feeling of incompleteness the entire system depends on. The 114 keys do not fill this gap. They reveal it as artificial. But revelation alone is not enough. The texts do not ask you to believe anything. They ask you to experiment. Saying 108, whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me, and I shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed. This describes a specific practice, consuming the words not as information, but as a catalyst, reading them slowly enough that they begin to read you, letting each saying sit in awareness until it stops being a concept and becomes a lens through which you see your actual experience. This is radically different from how we normally process spiritual or philosophical content. We read for meaning, for conclusions, for something we can integrate into our existing understanding and move on. The 114 sayings resist this. They are not meant to be understood. They are meant to interrupt understanding itself. Take saying 42, be passers-by. Most readers skip over this, assuming it means detachment or non-attachment. But sit with it as a practice. What happens when you move through your day as a passerby? When you notice your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions as temporary weather you are moving through rather than statements about who you are. When the identity you defend, the story you maintain, the character you have been performing is suddenly optional, the simulation fractures. Not all at once, not permanently, but for moments that become longer. Gaps in the programming where you are simply here, aware, without the need for the awareness to mean anything, or become anything, or prove anything about you. The Gnostics understood that transformation is not an event. It is the accumulation of these gaps, small moments of non-participation in the automatic pattern, brief windows where you are not the voice, but the space in which the voice appears. And in that space, you begin to notice something else entirely. There is an awareness underneath the noise that has been here the entire time. Not a new awareness you develop through practice, but an original awareness that was always present, buried under layers of commentary, interpretation, and inherited identity. The texts call it the light, but they are not being poetic. They mean the basic luminosity of consciousness before it is shaped into a self. You have touched this before, in moments between thoughts, in the split second before emotion becomes a story, in the strange clarity that sometimes appears in crisis when all the noise drops away and you simply see what is actually here, stripped of preference or interpretation. The simulation cannot touch this awareness because the simulation is something this awareness is watching. The simulation is content. This awareness is context, and you cannot trap context inside content. Saying 77, I am the light that is over all things, I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. This is not a claim about divinity. It is a description of where consciousness actually is. Not confined to your skull, not limited to the boundaries of your body, not contained by the story you have been telling about who you are. Present in the entire field of experience prior to the division into subject and object, self and other, inside and outside. The 114 keys systematically dismantle these divisions, each saying attacking a different supporting beam of the false structure, not through argument, but through direct pointing, not through belief, but through recognition. But recognition brings consequence, and the final consequence is the one most people are not prepared for. Once you see the simulation, you cannot unsee it. This is not liberation, not immediately. At first, it is disorientation. You begin to notice the scripts playing in conversations around you, the automatic responses, the rehearsed emotions, the way people defend positions they never chose and pursue goals they never questioned. You see the pattern running in others because you have begun to see it running in yourself. And here is the difficult part. You are still inside it. The texts do not promise escape. They promise something more unsettling, participation with awareness. You still move through the same world, the same relationships, the same obligations. But now you see the strings. You notice the mechanisms. You recognize when the Archons are speaking through you, when the counterfeit spirit is offering you a spiritualized replacement for actual presence. Saying 56, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass, and whoever has discovered a carcass of that person, the world is not worthy. A carcass is something that was once alive and is now being animated by processes that have nothing to do with life. This is not nihilism. It is precision. Most of what you call the world is actually the simulation running on autopilot. Cultural scripts, social conditioning, economic imperatives, psychological defenses, all operating together to generate the appearance of inevitable reality. When you see this clearly, you stop giving it the automatic agreement it requires to function, not through rebellion, not through withdrawal, but through simple non-participation in the unconscious aspect of it. You still act, but the action is no longer driven by the invisible assumptions, and this creates a specific kind of danger, because the simulation maintains itself through collective agreement. The most sophisticated defense the simulation has is not keeping you out of awareness. It is letting you in and then bringing you back. This is the pattern the texts warn about most explicitly, the cycle of awakening and forgetting, of seeing clearly and then slowly, allowing the clarity to become another belief system, another identity, another story you defend. The spiritual ego is not separate from the regular ego. It is the same structure wearing different clothes. Saying 28, I stood in the midst of the world, and in flesh I appeared to them. I found them all drunk, and I did not find any of them thirsty. My soul ached for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their hearts and do not see. The drunkenness is not ignorance, it is comfort. The comfort of having a story, of knowing who you are, of belonging to a structure that tells you what to want and how to measure whether you have succeeded. Awakening is uncomfortable because it removes this comfort without replacing it with anything stable. So the mind seeks a new stability, a new story. And the simulation offers infinite options. You can be the awakened one, the one who sees, the one who has transcended, and suddenly you are back inside, performing a new role, defending a new identity, speaking from a new script that feels more real than the old one, but operates by the same mechanics. The 114 sayings do not give you a new identity. They systematically remove the ground on which all identity stands. They do not offer you a place to land. They remove the need for landing. But this requires something most spiritual teaching avoids. It requires you to stop seeking. The final saying is saying 114, and it is the most controversial in the entire text. But its controversy is the point. It is designed to offend your need for the teaching to be comfortable, to be fair, to align with your existing values. It is a final test of whether you are reading for truth or reading for confirmation. The 114 keys are not a path. They are a dismantling of all paths, not because paths are wrong, but because the need for a path is the last defense against simply being here, now, without the future projection of becoming something other than what you are. The simulation ends when you stop feeding it, when you stop agreeing with the voice that says you are incomplete, when you stop participating in the search for what you already are, when you recognize that the one who seeks and the one who is sought are the same awareness, performing a division that was never necessary. The texts were buried because this recognition destabilizes systems, not political systems, not religious institutions, the internal system of identity maintenance that every structure in the external world depends on. When you are no longer running the program of becoming, you are no longer useful to the mechanisms that require your dissatisfaction to function. And so the question is not whether you can break the simulation. The question is whether you are willing to stop maintaining it. The 114 keys are already in your hands. They have always been in your hands. What you do with them is not a decision. It is what remains when deciding ends.